Okay, so at long last, Baruch Hashem, we're happy to be back. Just for our online viewers, I think this is our first class since just before Rosh Hashanah. And Baruch Hashem, the day after our last class here, on Erev Rosh Hashanah, my wife and I were blessed with our fifth son. So that, along with Tishrei, made it a bit difficult to do our daily classes at this particular hour. So now we're happy to be back, Baruch Hashem. Okay, we are on Pehei Amud Aleph, 85a, in the Gemara in Yoma. And we are in the discussion about breaking Shabbos for the sake of saving a life. That discussion is spun off the question of eating on Yom Kippur to save a life. And from there we got into, just generally speaking, breaking, violating Torah, specifically Shabbos, in order to save a life. So it's about a quarter from the top of the page. The line begins with Yisrael, and then Anavishkal, and then the fourth word there after the colon. So the Gemara quotes the Mishnah, which says, "Misha naful of apelas v'cholu," etc. The Mishnah stated that one upon whom a building collapsed, and the Mishnah goes through a number of doubts about the status of the person in there. First of all, I'm not sure if he's there at all. So should I violate Shabbos by removing the stones to dig this guy out? I don't know if he's even there. Number one. If he's there, I'm not sure if he's even alive. Because if he's not alive, then why should I violate Shabbos for him? Number three, even if he is alive, and even if there's a person there, I don't know if he's Jewish or not. And we talked about last time, in an ideal world this is the theoretical halacha. The practical halacha is that today you would violate Shabbos to save a non-Jew anyway. We talked about that last time, but this is in the theoretical halacha. We wouldn't do that for a non-Jew, depending on the circumstances. So the Gemara wants to know, my ka'amar, why does the Mishnah go through all these various different doubts? We get it. Just even in doubt, save the person's life. Why go and specify? We know he's there. If he's not there, we know if he's Jewish, he's not Jewish. We know if he's alive or not alive. The point is, if there's a doubt, save the guy. Why specify? So he explains the Gemara, the Mishnah should be understood in a not only or needless to say manner of speaking. That is to say, you start off with that which is obvious, and you say, not only that, but this too. Not only that, but this too. You're kind of stressing and highlighting its importance by doing that. And this is how the Mishnah should be understood. It's needless to say, Safek Usham, if we're doubt if he's there. Safek She'ein Sham, we're not sure if we're doubt, maybe he's not there. The Isya, that if he happens to be there, and Chai is and he's alive, that's when we would unravel the rubble to get him out. Because there's only one doubt, whether he's there or not there. But if he's there, he's definitely alive, and we want to save him. And therefore the Mishnah says, El afilu safek chai safek meis. Not only that, or needless to say, you would be saving him in that situation, under that doubt. But even if we're not sure he's there, plus we're not sure if he's even alive, so it's a double doubt. Safek chai safek meis. Even so, we would undo the rubble to try to take him out. But safek chai safek meis. Not only if we're not sure he's even there, and even if he's there, we're not sure if he's alive. But even if he's alive, we're not sure, that he's Jewish. Even if we're in doubt as to whether he is not Jewish or Jewish, can we still undo it? In other words, it's not as if there's three isolated situations. It's one situation that has triple doubt. It's not like the Mishnah is listing three situations. One situation where we're in doubt if he's there, one situation where we're in doubt if he's alive, one situation if we're in doubt he's Jewish. It's one scenario. We're not sure if he's alive, if he's there. And even if he is there, we're not sure if he's alive. And even if he's alive, we're not even sure if he's Jewish at all. So it's one person, one situation, and we have these three doubts piled on top of each other. And all of that, certainly we still try to save him. And that's why the Mishnah elaborates on the various details of the doubt to tell you, not only, even if you have all these doubts compounded, we still, for the off chance that perhaps we're saving somebody, we still dig out the rubble to try and save him. Okay, the Mishnah continued. Matzo chai. The Mishnah stated, if we find him alive, we undo the rubble. What's the word for undo the rubble? Unpile, I don't know what the word is. Remove the rubble. We remove the rubble and clear the area and take him out. So the Mishnah stated that if you find him alive, you do that. The Gemara asks, Matzo chai, if you find him alive, Pshita, obviously we try to save him. The whole point was that even if we're not sure he's alive. Now it goes back to saying when we found him alive, you just finished saying that even if we're not even sure he's there, we're not even sure if he's alive, you still try to save him. Certainly if you find him alive, you're trying to save him. So what's the Mishnah trying to add here? Mishnah says, no, it's not so simple. We need this new statement to teach us that even if he's only going to live for a few hours or less. In other words, we start digging in the rubble because we're not sure if someone's there. We find the guy there and we see him alive. But assuming we have a doctor there and we know that he's got a few minutes to live. So one might have thought, okay, look, he's not living any longer. No reason to violate Shabbos anymore. Says the Mishnah, no. If he's alive, you take him out. In other words, even until the very last moment, the person's actually not alive anymore. One still must have faith that Hashem might be able to save this person. And therefore you do everything in your absolute power to try to save this person. Even if by natural course of events, this person's not going to survive. And one might argue there's no reason to start violating Shabbos. He's not going to live. Says the Gemara, no, you don't make that call. You see he's alive, save him. Even if it only means at the end, he'll only live for half an hour, 20 minutes, you still save him. Now the Gemara quotes the next statement in the Mishnah, which is, if they actually find him to be dead, you leave him. Says the Gemara, this is also obvious. He's dead, leave him. I can't bury him. It's Shabbos. So leave him there, and then Sunday we'll take him out. Why do I have to continue removing the rubble? It's obvious. The whole point was that if we're not sure if he's alive or dead, then we try to save him. But here we know he's not alive. We know he's dead. Leave him. Says Gemara, no, not the case. We do need to state the statement that the Mishnah needs to explicitly tell us if he's not alive, we should leave him. Sficha would need to be told that. Let Rabbi ben Lakish to make sure we don't assume the opinion of Rabbi son of Lakish. What's that? The Tanya, we've learned as follows. The law says the sages, that one does not save a corpse in the face of a fire. So if there's a corpse lying in a home on Shabbos, and the house goes on fire, says these sages, let the corpse burn rather than violate Shabbos by putting the fire out. This is the view of the sages. It's not the halacha. Amar Huda ben Lakish says, and this is the halacha. Shemaiti, I heard, we do save a corpse in the face of a fire, either by carrying it out or it's probably by carrying it out. I don't think it means putting out the fire. But even if it meant putting out the fire, I think it means carrying it out. No, it's also carrying. There's also a question of carrying, not just a question of muktzah. There's a biblical issue here of carrying from a private domain to a public domain. Are you sure? Where's Rashi here? Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's only muktzah. It's only rabbinic. Yeah, my mistake. Okay. So this dispute whether or not you take this corpse and carry it out with the issue of muktzah, sages say, no, leave it there. It's dead already. No point in doing anything. Which Rabbi ben Lakish says, no, take it out. Now explains the Gemara, even Rabbi ben Lakish, who said that you carry this corpse out of the burning building. Like Omar only said this, because a person, when he's in such a raw state of emotion, where they lost a loved one, that the person's what's the word? Bold, where he's not mixed up, but he's like he's in a state of shock. He's in a state of disbelief, and he's not conscientious enough to be told look, leave the body alone, let it burn. He just lost somebody he cares for. He can't. And if you're not going to permit him to carry the body out of the burning building, he's going to disregard the entire statement of any rabbi and just put the fire out. And therefore, says Rabbi Huda, son of Lakish, let us permit this person to violate a minor issue of muktzah. Let him carry the body out, rather than in his state of confusion and in the state of overwhelming emotion, he'll disregard the law completely and violate Shabbos at the highest order by putting out the fire. And therefore, it's in Shabbos' best interest to allow this person to violate Shabbos in a minor fashion. Follow? Sorry? Yeah. So the Gemara explains, therefore. Now, this is only true when there's a fire, and where if you don't allow him to remove the body from the fire, he's going to put the fire out of halacha. But here, when there's a corpse, there's a dead body lying under a destructive building, and this person is overwhelmed and emotional, he just lost someone he cares for, building just collapsed on him and killed him. And we tell him, look, we tell him, look, sorry, you can't undo the building to take the body out. My is the mevet, what's he going to do? There's no question of my violating Shabbos, what's he going to do? So he'll leave it there, and the corpse will be waiting for him as soon as Shabbos is over. When there's a burning fire, and he's stuck between having the opportunity to bury his beloved or not, he's going to in a state of overwhelmed emotion, he's going to disregard your instructions and put the fire out, and that's a serious problem. But over here, where there's a question of just rubble, if you tell him you can't remove the rubble, what's he going to do? The worst is he'll remove the rubble. There's nothing to lose. There's no question if he might be able to do something worse, especially considering the fact that when Shabbos is over, the corpse will be right there. Nothing's going to change. Notwithstanding our sympathies for his traumatic state. Okay, so this kind of ends the discussion on when you're allowed to save somebody. The next point in the discussion is going to be the degree to which we know when a person's alive or not. How much do we have to undig to find out if he's alive, or dig up to find out if he's alive? And then we're going to get to rationale. What's the rationale behind violating Shabbos to save a life? That's going to be a very interesting discussion. Try to understand where our sages are coming from and how they interpret the verses to understand why one should save a life, even if it means violating Shabbos. Okay, Tana Rabbanan, our sages taught. This is also a very interesting discussion. The question of what constitutes life still is a controversial question till this very day. Because there's some differences between the sciences and Torah, and it changes the question of being able to donate organs. Serious discussion. Right, the question is if we're looking for brain death or heart death. And depending on that, those few minutes, those few seconds, it's a question of whether or not you can transfer a heart and still reuse it. This becomes a very interesting discussion. So it's kind of similar to what's about to be discussed here, but not exactly the same. But it kind of is. Let's see. Our sages thought. So there's a person down there. I'm not sure if let's say we know he's there. We're not sure if he's alive or not. Okay, it's Shabbos. No questions asked. We violate Shabbos. We start to removing the rubble. But at what point how far in his body do we have to examine to decide if he's alive or not? In other words, if we find him dead, we just mentioned earlier, if we find that he's passed away already, we leave him there till Shabbos is over. So how far do we dig till we are certain that he's alive or not? Says the Gemara, Ad chaytmai. We dig until his nose, to see if there's breath coming from his nose. If there's no breath, he's not alive. If there is breath, he's alive. Keep on going. Others disagree and say, Ad liboy. Check until his heart. So we check for a heartbeat, pulse, or do we check for breath in his nostrils? If I'm not mistaken, the heart stops first. And those are the few seconds. Is that correct?
Breathing stops.
Sorry?
When somebody's drowning.
No, someone's lying in a hospital bed.
Yeah.
Passes away. Which one stops first? Pretty sure
The heart has to stop first. The heart stops.
Right, the heart stops first. No, there's a point at which, if the heart stops,
the brain goes.
and then the brain, but there's a few seconds the brain is still going, and you can transfer the heart. But if you wait for the brain to be dead, and at that point it's too late to transfer the heart. You can't transfer the heart anymore.
Oh.
I think that's what it is.
Brain dead, finished.
Right, but then there's a few seconds when the heart stops, but the brain is still going.
Yeah, the heart could stop.
Sorry?
The heart could stop.
The brain's still going. And at that point, you can remove the heart. But as he says here, you have to wait you have to check the nose, which means you have to check for life in the head, which means you'd have to wait longer than after the heart stopped.
But you can't be breathing if this heart stops.
There's no air at all if the heart stopped. Okay, so there's some piece I'm missing here.
Part of the problem is when people on respirators, then is the breath natural or the machine? That's also part of the question.
It's a different question. It's a question of it becomes a question of euthanasia.
That's also a question of death. If the person's breathing, is he breathing because of
Right.
natural?
Right. So the question is, are you allowed to pull the plug or not? Right. That's what I'm saying. It's a question of euthanasia. I'm asking the question of it's a different story. It's a question of when halacha declares the moment of death. It's a bit after when medicine does. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm not like familiar in biology of this, but I'm not mistaken. It's a question of heartbeat versus the brain, and those few seconds change whether or not you can donate certain organs. Because after a certain point, the organs are no longer useful.
The heart doesn't pump the blood up to the brain. The brain dies.
How long does it take for that to happen? I'm pretty sure there's a small time lapse. There's a time lapse, and that's the time that you have. And that's the difference between checking the nose versus checking the heart in this discussion, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, there are scholars who are both biologists and halachic legal scholars. There's literature on this. So let's just see if Malcolm here. Okay, so one opinion is when you're digging to undo this person, you want to make sure he's dead or alive. If he's alive, keep on going. If he's dead, leave him and wait till after Shabbos. So one opinion is check his nose. The other opinion is check his heart. Another misstatement is, Baduk, if they check a collapsed building, and they see people that are higher up, they see that they've already passed, they've already died. One shouldn't say, one shouldn't assume, okay, if the guys on top died, then certainly people lower died. That's not always the case. Sometimes people lower in the building survive. Someone higher up in the building doesn't survive because something hit his head. Or someone lower, because of the way he's positioned and the way the building collapsed, he's still alive. And therefore, just because you found people early on in your search who passed away, doesn't mean you stop digging. On Shabbos, it is. And the Gemara said, "My Sahaya, there was indeed such a scenario where they were checking. They found people higher up in the collapsed building that were dead. And people lower in the building that were alive." Okay, a few more minutes to finish this discussion. Yeah? Okay, so more like this. Name will let's suggest, these scholars who argued as to whether or not you look for life in the nose or you look for life in the heart, perhaps these are a match the following two sages. The Tanya, we've learned. From where is the fetus formed? I believe the biology takes one opinion over the other, but actually I'm not sure. Actually not sure. And I'll explain why. So one opinion is that the fetus is formed from the head. The first part of the fetus that's formed is the head, and from there the rest of the body is formed. You know, as the verse reads, "May iti, may imi," from the stomach of my mother, Ata goizi, you have taken me out. The word here is for taking out is goizi. He says the prophet's talking to God and said, from the womb of my mother, you've taken me out. And the word for taking me out is goizi. Another verse says, Gizi nezerecha, cut off your nazir, vashlichi, and throw it away. And the nazir, of course, is identified by his long hair. And there it uses the term gazi, remove your nazir, using the same word gazi. So if the word gazi means to remove the hair, then when the verse says you're taking me out of the womb, gazi, then that means by the head. And this is how he indicates that the head is what starts the fetus. Even though one could argue it's talking about the removal from the head, from the womb, but nonetheless, this is the way this sage understands it. Okay, so that's one opinion, that the fetus is formed from the head. Well, goizi can actually just doesn't mean necessarily take it, but goizi as in like bring it forth, which means in the womb you brought me forth, beginning from my head. Okay, Abba Shaul says michiburei, that the fetus is formed from the stomach, mishaleach sharshav, and it expands its roots, elech ve'elef, all directions until the entire fetus is formed. So I believe today it's kind of a, if I'm not mistaken, it's a mixture of both. In other words, there's the cord from the mother that goes to the fetus, and that cord at the end ends up in the stomach, right? Which means at the place where it starts is theoretically the middle. From there, it expands otherwise. But the first thing that it expands, the first thing that it makes is a head, and then the rest of it. Or actually, there's a heartbeat first. Is there a heartbeat first? And then there's a head. Right, first the heartbeat, and then the brain, then the head develops. I should know this. 5 children, right?
Never studied this before.
Sorry?
Never studied this.
There's a heartbeat very, very early on, but much of there's a brain yet. I don't know. Okay, so the Gemara therefore suggests, one second, first let's see this statement. So the Gemara suggests, therefore, that the one who said that we check when we're digging up rubble, finding a person, the one who suggests that you check his nose, it's because he's of the opinion the head is formed first, and that's why life is defined by there. Whereas the one who said that you keep on checking to the heart, that follows the opinion of Abba Shaul, who says that the fetus is formed from that area, from the stomach, from the heart, and then from there to the rest of the body. So the Gemara says, no, don't compare formation to where life is after it's born. They could be different. Could be formed one way, and yet life is defined some other way. And then the Gemara says, Abba Shaul, we can suggest that even Abba Shaul agrees that you check for life by the nose, even though he's of the opinion that the fetus is formed from the stomach, or from the heart region. And the Gemara explains, Adkam like Amar. But Abba Shaul's statement is limited to Abba Shaul Hasam over there, and you need to see it with respect to the baby being formed. Because everything is formed from its middle, from its center. You start from its center, from there you build everything, you build it. And therefore the fetus is formed from the center. But when it comes to defining life, at the end of life, then even Abba Shaul might agree. The ikar chiyusa, that the primary life is ba'ape, is in his nose. The ksiv, as the verse reads, this is from our parsha from Bereshis. Anything that has the soul of life in his nostrils. Thus we see the verse defines. Sorry? Oh, this is from Noach. Oh no, I'm mixing up with God blowing it into his nostrils. Yeah, sorry, this is from Noach. Okay, my apologies. Omer Papa says, okay, so the bottom line is that whatever your opinion is on how the fetus is formed, we're still going to maintain that at the end of life, we define life and death by breath in the nostrils. Okay, Omer Papa says, Machlek is the dispute as to whether or not you check the heart or check the nose, is mimata lamaila, is if you found the person upside down and you're digging him out that way. So the first thing you find is his feet, to his torso, and now you found his heart. And you don't see a heartbeat. Do you have to continue checking until you find his nose? That's where this is dispute. One sage says you don't see a heartbeat, leave him. Then he's passed, wait till after Shabbos. The other opinion is, even if you don't see a heartbeat, you keep on going until you find his nose. Because there are times when the heart stops, or not the heart stops, when the person cannot discern the heartbeat, but yet there's still breath. I'm pretty sure it's even for a few seconds, even after the heartbeat stops. There's still some oxygen in the brain. It takes a few seconds till it's all gone. And that's why I have to keep on going. Aval but, if we started digging the person from above to below, the first thing we found was his head. So once we've checked his nose and we've determined he's alive or not alive, then tshuva netzarech, no determining necessary. In other words, it's not the dispute is not a question of heart versus nose. It's a question of whether or not once the heart stops, is there any point in checking his nose? Everybody agrees the nose is where you actually should be checking. But there are those who say that once the heart stops, there's no reason to check the nose. And if you're finding the person stuck in the rubble and you're digging him out from his feet first, then once you meet his heart and you see no heartbeat, no reason to go forward. Where the other view says, no, there might be a few more seconds of oxygen, or there might actually not, it might just be that you can't tell that his heart is actually beating very softly, but there is still some life, and therefore you keep on going until you find his nose. And the reason for this is, the Ksiv the verse reads, we just read it, anything that has a living soul in his nostrils. Thus, the Torah defines life as breath in the nose. God willing, tomorrow we get into a very interesting discussion on why it is that we break Shabbos to save a life. What's the logic? The reason why the Gemara even has to ask is because, on the one hand, Jews, at least in certain circumstances, Jews give up their life rather than violate Torah. And yet we're violating Torah to save a life. And this distinction between giving up a life to keep Torah and violating Torah to save a life actually has bearing on the issue of the coronavirus. We'll talk about that tomorrow, God willing. Have a wonderful day.